The Met School. These schools are the feature of the book The Big Picture by Dennis Littke and Samantha Grable. What I see when I read this book is relationships, relevance, and rigor. And I cannot help but cheese out a little bit. This book literally changed my entire life, and I will never look at education again the same in the same way. And we can think about it. If you've ever been to a middle school or a high school, you see the need for the aspect of an advisory. An advisory is a group of 16 students, and they're assigned to one adult throughout the entire 4 years of their schooling. Who do parents call when there's a problem? They call their advisory. The parents feel part of this. At the Met, the parents are part of the education, like it should be. They're their first teachers. In the advisory, they allow the kids to socialize and operate as a community. At the Met, kids are treated with respect. They celebrate one another, birthdays, accomplishments, and achievements. Advisors at the Met are in contact with their students and their students' families, and it's positive. It's not like, oh, the school's calling me. What did my kid do? They still bring the curriculum in. However, it's very different at the Met. They achieve their goal through the real world. They have flexibility. They have internships, independent projects, accountability, and value. At the Met, the kids are not bored half to death, which is so important because in my high school and junior high, I was literally bored to death. It was torture for me. And that is why I'm a teacher today, so that kids do not get tortured in the same way that I was. We've learned so much about neuroscience and so much about what to do that's right. It's not hard. In the big picture, they just did it. They just did it, and it's working fabulously. They ask the students what is their passion. Then they allow the students to follow their passion with real world relevance. Again, relationships, relevance, and rigor. These kids are working harder than any other high school kids because they're not bored and they're loving what they're doing. Every 9 weeks, the students are allowed to present their knowledge at an exhibit. At this exhibit, their parents and the other students and the public are allowed to come and watch. At the Met, education begins from the student. They don't worry at first about the curriculum. They worry about the student. One student at a time is their mantra. What are your likes? What are your dislikes? What do you want to do? Where do you want to do your internship? Then they build the curriculum around that, kind of like an IEP. How wonderful is that? At the Met, each student is allowed to be happy. They're allowed to follow their interests no matter how bizarre. One student, this struck out to me, she chose death. And then after her exhibit, she shared that her entire family died on the way back from Cambodia. She shared that she wanted to get through her pain in order to move forward. Everyone, the students, the teachers thought, how bizarre, this kid's going to everything related with death. Her internship was at a mortuary. Very bizarre. However, after her exhibit, everybody understood what she was talking about. She received a standing ovation, and she was able to exclaim to her teachers that she's ready to ditch the death study and move on with her life. She had to find out what happened to her family and figure out what she believed happened to them so that she could be in peace to live the rest of her life. Poor kid. The goal at the Met is to follow people's interests and passion. Another story that struck out to me is a student that was just obsessed with the Vietnam War. And it turned out that this student's father was a Vietnam War vet, and he was never able to speak about the war. His son would talk about the war, and he would just disappear into the other room. However, he was diligent, and through relationships, relevance, and rigor, he learned all about the Vietnam War, and later him and his father even went to Vietnam together. He later became a high school history instructor. Taught everybody about the war. Some scary and sad and tragic statistics, and it's no surprise. I mean, the only reason why I didn't drop out of high school is because I have a desire to please my mother at that point. I didn't want to break her heart. But it was literally torture for me. And I'm 45 years old, and I can still go back and say that time in my life was torture, and don't do that to kids anymore. Every 12 seconds, a child drops out of high school in America. 11% of first generation college students, 11% drop out. The Met works life to text. Traditional schools work text to life. The students are doing real work and facing real world challenges. And a lot of them change their minds. Some of them do an internship and they're like, I decided I don't want to be a doctor. This grosses me out, or I don't have the stomach for it, or whatever. So then they say, okay, what do you want to be next? And then they change their internship. Why does the Met work, and why is tradition failing? Traditional schools are boring students to death. They're leaving. Every 1.2 million high school students in America drops out. Come on, we have to do something about this. We're following a tradition that was set in 1647 from the Old Deluder Satan Act, where students must learn to read and write and do a little math so they can ward off Satan. And I know that's a little dramatic. We've come slightly further than this, but not too far. Kids are still in rows. They're still listening to teachers. They're still doing the wrong thing. Schools look so much like they did when I was in school, that it's not right. I'm 45. The world looks nothing at all like it did the time when I was in high school. We had a phone hanging on our wall, for goodness sakes. Information was obtained by encyclopedias. Today, kids have no idea what encyclopedias even are. What's missing? Relationships, relevance, rigor. How can we pull it all together? I know it's not likely or realistic that we'll leave with this college graduate degree and go to pave a brand new school like the Met. But if you're going to become an educator, I beg and plead you to read the Met. It changed my life, and I'll say it again. This stuff is not hard. It's not hard to talk to our students like respectful human beings. If they need to go to the bathroom, let them go to the bathroom. Hall passes and questioning why they have to go to the bathroom is degrading. I remember in choir, I always had to go to the bathroom at that time because it was after lunch, and my teacher actually accused me of going and causing trouble, and I was like, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm back every 5 minutes. I'll never forget it. It was rude, it was degrading, and it was embarrassing. Why do I have to tell you why I have to go to the bathroom after lunch? Well, because I drank a big old Gatorade or whatever. It's not hard to talk to our students like respectful human beings. Some simple strategies: greet them at the door. Allow for reflection. Communication. Communication happens when we reflect about what we learned. Kids learn more from one another than they're going to learn from you talking any old day. Let them talk. Celebrate their successes. Have exhibits. Let them show their parents, show the rest of their school what they did. Backwards design, create goals, teach digital responsibility so every student can design their own curriculum to their interests. Kids go home, they're on YouTube, they're checking stuff out. Teach them how to do it right. Teach them what information is bogus and what information is credible. Teach them how to do that at a high school level. We'll help them go far on their own. Expect a lot from students. No one brings nothing to the table. Everyone has a strength. If we can teach these students to their strengths through projected learning, everyone is allowed to bring something to the table and everyone is allowed to shine. And here are some pictures of the Met. Kind of looks like an adult conference, doesn't it? Doesn't look anything like high school. And yes, there is a teacher showing some stuff to the kids there. So, I mean, there's always going to be some traditional teacher talking to students. And here these kids are presenting to their parents. And look at that. They're all succeeding. And all these kids are probably going to go on to either college or trade school and have something to show for their life.